Let's talk about graphing piecewise functions. So we have f of x equals 2x if these conditions are true, but then f of x equals this if those conditions are true. So it's kind of like graphing two graphs depending on the conditions. And so you can use a table of values or you can graph in slope-intercept form. It doesn't really matter, but I recommend using a pencil and then erasing. So you want to I think it's better to graph the whole thing and then come back with the limited domain. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all graph 2x. So my y-intercept is 0. So I'm going to plot that 0, the y-intercept, because the y-intercept here is the number that's out here. I'm assuming you know what slope-intercept form is. If you don't, you need to search YouTube videos on graphing and slope-intercept form first. But this is when you're doing piecewise functions, you should have already mastered graphing lines. So if you haven't, you don't need this. You need how to graph a line first, and then come back to this. But anyway, so the y-intercept is 0. So I have plotted that, and now I'm going to follow the directions in the slope, and the slope is 2 over 1. So I'm going to come up 2, so from here 1, 2, and go over 1 and put a dot, and then up 2 and over 1 and put a dot like that. So I've got a few points there, and then what I want to do is I want to draw a line through there, and I'm going to go very lightly, and it's not perfect here, so maybe this point is here, so it's not perfect, but I'm going to draw very lightly, and I extend the whole line. So this is what the line y equals 2x looks like. But now I'm going to come to my domain here, and I'm going to erase the part that's not here. So this says only do this when x is greater than 0. Well, x is 0 here, greater than 0 is this way, so I only need that part of the graph. So this is going to go in that direction forever. I'm going to take my eraser and erase the part that's not included in that domain. And notice it's greater than 0, so this has an open circle around x equals 0. So there's an open circle here. It's not colored in, and it's going to the right because I only wanted to graph this where x is greater than 0, and back in this direction, which would have included this down here, x is not greater than 0. X is greater than 0 over here, so only that part of the graph is shown. So that's a good way to do that part. So now I want to do this one. So the y-intercept is 3. So I come up here 1, 2, 3, and I do my y-intercept. And notice my slope is negative 1 over 1. So that's down 1 and over 1, down 1 and over 1. So it's going to kind of look like that. And when I draw this, I'm going to draw the whole thing, but I'm using a very light line. And now I'm going to follow the directions in my domain. Well, it says only draw this graph where x is less than or equal to 0. So here's 0, and less than or equal to 0 is over here. So when I go up to where 0 is, it's here. I only want to include that part of it because this is the side of the line where x is less than or equal to 0. And please notice that it's less than or equal to 0. So this is going to get colored in, and then this arrow goes this way. So I darken this in and color this in. And I want to come back and erase that part of it because this part is not part of the domain. So I want to erase that part of it. So here's what I have. I have an open circle here, and this is going this way. And then I have a colored in circle here, and this is going this way, and it stops there. So this is what my piecewise function looks like doing that. So I recommend using a pencil with an eraser, graphing the entire line, and then following the directions in the domain. I helped a couple of students yesterday, and they didn't do it this way. They tried to use a chart, which there's nothing wrong with using a chart. But the problem is when you use a chart, they weren't drawing the whole line and then erasing the part that needed to go away. They were just going by the chart, and so inevitably their graphs were insufficient. They didn't have everything graphed that they needed to. So this is a good way to do that, whether you use a chart or whether you use slope-intercept form, you've got to follow the directions in the domains that are here. All right, bye.